This video is to show the people of the Commonwealth of Australia that at this time they have in their control every single state, and they have the Commonwealth under their control. Now, the reason I am doing this is because of the lies, treachery and treason being committed by a so-called national cabinet, which does not exist in law. It is not in our constitution. It's not in their green constitution. It isn't in the Commonwealth Constitution Act 1900 UK. Now in 2017, I filed a document, lawful notice of seizure of the Government of Western Australia under the authority of Clause 61 of Magna Carta. There's a reason I did this. People asked at the time, why did you do it? What are you going to do next? Well, I was waiting until something like this would happen, where for Mark McGowan and all the filthy traitors who sit in political parties, sit in our parliament, sit in our courts, magistrates and district court and Supreme Court, all the police, all the prison officers, every civil servant, anybody who exercises authority over another, is required by our Constitution to swear a lawful oath. None of yous have. None of yous are lawful. Consistently through the years, I have put to the Supreme Court of Western Australia, and they've reiterated that, and it's picked up by a group of lunatics called the Australian Paralegal Society. You trolls attack me and keep on with your nonsense, but at all times you didn't understand, nor do you understand. Your version is the courts ruled, so they're correct, and I have to go to the courts. Don't be so stupid. If you use that grey matter between your ears, you would realise we don't have any lawful courts. Now, we don't have a lawful state in Western Australia. The reason being, I'll come to that in a minute, and I'll just read out this lawful notice of seizure. It says, I, Wayne Kenneth Glue, CPO, OWB, living, breathing man, do formally and completely seize, on behalf of the people of Western Australia, the three tiers of the lawful government of Western Australia known as the Executive Government and Adjudicature and the Legislature, for the following reason. It is required by both state and Commonwealth Constitution that there be an Executive Government which consists of a lawful Governor sworn in with the oath to the monarch as contained in the schedule to the Commonwealth Constitution and the state one. This has not been done. The Governor is required by both constitutions to select 10 from the lower house of the new Parliament and 8 from the upper house. This has not been done. The Governor gives the portfolios to each of these 18 people, and they are bound not to sit in Parliament. This does not happen. The Executive puts all legislation together and puts it to the Parliament to debate. This does not happen. After passing through both Houses of Parliament, the legislation is returned to the Governor, who signs on behalf of the Queen that the legislation complies with the Commonwealth Constitution. This does not happen, so no laws are lawful. End of the story. The Governor swears in police officers, officers of the Crown, and they carry out his orders as the highest person in government. This does not happen. The Governor and Council is required to select all judges and magistrates, and they are required to swear the oath of allegiance before taking their oath of office. This does not happen. Every gathering to be a court must be a gathering under the sovereign, Queen Elizabeth II, lawful monarch of this country. This does not happen. All courts, once lawfully established, must sit inside the Commonwealth held to the Constitution and the common law. This does not happen. Lawful courts are bound by the decisions of the High Court and the common law being the King James Bible. This does not happen. Every officer of the courts must be officers of the Crown, sworn, and that includes all security officers and prison officers. The rest are unlawful. This does not happen. Every subject of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, lawful monarch of this country, are innocent until proven guilty. This does not happen. All land titles, transfer of land, sale of land is under the authority and sold as an estate in fee simple, free from any tax, fee or fine, and without interference by any parliament. This does not happen. Every reason given above is from our constitution and is binding on the courts, judges and people of every state. The seizure takes place immediately and remains in place until the problems are rectified and the constitution is complied with. The only remedy for the so-called government is to put all the issues to the High Court or resign and allow a lawful government to be established under the authority granted by Chapter 1 and 2 of the Commonwealth Constitution. All the judges and magistrates must be removed and prosecuted, and a new group of lawfully appointed judges and magistrates put in place. Clause 61 of Magna Carta establishes the right of the people to do anything they like to force the government to comply with our laws made pursuant to our Constitution. This does not happen. Signed for and on behalf of the people of Western Australia, dated the 18th day of October 2017. Wayne Kenneth Glue, CPO OWB. Don't worry about that. That is all signed lawfully, and that was served on Mark McGowan, to which he sent a letter back saying, once a time you were declared vexatious. You're a liar, Mark. A master of the court can't do that. Now, then I seized the three lawful tiers of the federal government. I seized the Green Mucus Constitution and hold it in a state of fraud under the Crown for and on behalf of the people until such time a lawful court sitting under the Crown decides whether it is lawful or not, and it isn't. So don't go there. Then I seized every act, statute, rule, regulation or order made by or applied for by political parties and hold them in fraud until such time as that goes before a lawful court sitting under the Commonwealth Constitution and the Crown. That doesn't happen at this time. I then seized all the assets of this country, all the assets that you thought that you could steal, and you stole them. Every politician in this country stole them and sold them into companies in America. And they're held in companies inside the District of Columbia. Well, you filthy traitors, thieves and liars, that's no longer going to be the case. You're going to give them back because they're under our seizure. And so is our Parliament. So what this means to you first, I'll start with the state. Now, the reason I did what I did, people asked and I told them I'll explain it. This is the state constitution put in place with a letters patent on the 29th of October 1900 by Queen Victoria. On the back it is method of voting. That is in this constitution. You are bound by it. Section 52 and 53 is not local government. It is the electoral boundaries which you chose to change. Now, where your big problem is this is the constitution you used since Federation. It had 32 sections missing, and it was modified right up until the 1st of January 2004, when you replaced it with another one. But then you had this brilliant idea by this paid liar, traitor, fraudster called Wayne Stewart Martin. He stated, and he's written a book, The State Constitution by Wayne Stewart Martin, liar and fraudster. You are Wayne Stewart Martin, a liar and a fraudster, because you have a good education. So you would know we have a single constitution. You knew we had this one, even though it had 32 sections missing. And I'll come back to that issue because that's serious, that issue. Now, you said we have 5 acts make up the state constitution of Western Australia. You're a liar. You were not the Chief Justice ever, because you never met the requirements of Section 72 of the Commonwealth Constitution, which applies at the state level through the letters patent for the Office of Governor of Western Australia. You couldn't change that. You couldn't alter that. It's a letters patent, you clown. None of you can change a letters patent. The Statute of Monopolies requires that is reserved to the Queen. She never signed it. The Governor did on her behalf. Can't. Go read your state constitution. Can't do it. Now, when you changed it, that's not the only thing you did. In 2005, you used the Oath Affidavit and Statutory Declaration Act to remove the oath of allegiance to the Queen. Chris Milosevic in the Magistrates Court Geraldton admitted to that. Well, he didn't deny it. When I put it to him, he did admit to swearing an unlawful oath to the state and the state, and he couldn't comprehend that, but that's not unusual. He was a lawyer. How could he comprehend anything of any consequence? They've been taught lies. They'd learned to lie. He stated in court that I said, I know everything about the law. I don't. Never have claimed that. He stated in court, I stated I knew everything about the Constitution. Another one of your lies, Chris. In fact, you lied and you lied and you lied and you lied. And you tried to tell me the council, without going to court, could take my property without paying for another lie. What sort of an idiot are you to sit in our court and lie like that? Why would you do that? Because you're sick. You couldn't be any other way. Your parents didn't bring you up to lie. They didn't bring you up to mislead and deceive people. To go against your parents' wish, being given your ethnic background, that is a shocking thing in your family. I hope they're proud of, or not proud of, what you're doing. You're a disgusting degenerate. Thank you for that. Now, the reason I seized it, because this has never ever been used. This one has 32 sections missing, and therein lies the problem. At Federation, they used the Constitution, which was a letters patent, with 32 sections missing. Yes, for the paralysed legal section, and you little trolls. I consistently put this issue to the court. They consistently ignored the fact the state of Western Australia has never lawfully been constituted, because they used the Constitution with 32 sections missing. Do they have a problem? Huge, you clowns. Huge. The problem is, we have never had lawful courts. We've never had lawful parliaments. Never had lawful police. Never had a lawful governor after the first one. Why? Because this state was never lawfully established. Queensland, 1929, took out its upper house. Its constitution failed to comply with the Commonwealth one under 106. Your state's invalid. Everything you said and done is invalid, unlawful, an act of treason against the people. That's why I did what I did. Why did they seize all of the Commonwealth? Because the Commonwealth Parliament, every politician there is sitting in blatant treason. I've spoken to quite a few of them. I'm disgusted in some of them. I'm not going to name you because I'm not going to single out anybody. But you're required to swear the oath in our Constitution. I don't care what lies, excuses, reasons and trolls you put against me. I don't care. I forgive all of you. Have a nice day, but I'm not going to let up on you yet. Section 42 of the Constitution. Very, very clear. Before taking your seat in the House of Representatives or the Senate, you're required to take the oath contained in our Constitution. That doesn't say Queen of Australia. Don't come with your nonsense, you got the right to change it because of the Statute of Westminster. No, liar. Clause 2, Clause 5 of the Constitution says all imperial acts come into this country subject to the Constitution, because the Constitution binds the Crown, binds it to that Constitution. That's what you're not understanding. You thick, simple little people who can't get your head around the truth. Now, let's go further into the truth. 72 of the Constitution. The Governor-General, not the Parliament, selects all judges for the High Court and the Federal Court. Who told you the Parliament could do it? There's a dipstick, big fellow, ethnic background, long hair, ponytail on YouTube, sprouting how the Parliament selects judges. No, donkey. The Parliament can't do it because Section 72 of our Constitution says they can't do it. The Governor-General must. Do you understand that, sir? Get your crap off YouTube, because that is against our standards. Our standards for YouTube are the truth. Try talking it. No, the states didn't exist before Federation. The states never existed until after the 1st of January 1901. They were created under 107, 108 and 109 of our Constitution. No other way. Their constitutions continued subject to the Commonwealth Constitution. I can show you for a fact that this state constitution of Western Australia, 52 and 53, is the electoral boundaries. It is not local government. Then, this little constitution here says, section 52, it says, local government added by number 88 in 1979, an Act of Parliament. So the Parliament decided it could add another tier of government. Where did they get that authority? Reserve powers? No. The reserve powers, that needs explaining, because lots of you trolls come out and say the states have got reserve powers. No, the states had reserve powers. But you don't understand where they came from. Read the annotated Constitution. It states, page 935 and 936, section 51, as shared powers between the Commonwealth and the states. Now, if the Commonwealth passes a law and the states pass one, and the state's law is inconsistent with the Commonwealth one, 109 corrects the problem, making the state one invalid to the degree that it interferes with the federal one. Clear enough for you? Then the legislative authority reserved directly to the federal parliament stays with them. Now, the residual powers are the ones left after that is, and they are all listed on page 936. That is the residual powers. They didn't have any from before Federation. You want evidence of that? That's very, very simple. Go to section 51, subsection 38 of the Commonwealth Constitution Act 1900 UK. It says on the conferral of the parliaments of the state, the federal government can exercise authority it had at Federation. You read Quick and Garron, it explains why they didn't have any. It says they didn't have any, and they didn't. Why? Because of Clause 7. Clause 7 of the Constitution very, very clearly states, on the proclamation of this Constitution, the old entities known as the Australasian Council and the colonies cease to exist. You know what that means? It means on the 29th of July 1900, those Australasian Council and colonies, which were military colonies, ceased to exist. Nothing they had, their laws, nothing existed. That was put there by Queen Victoria to counteract the massive amount of laws being pumped out by all the colonies waiting for Federation to happen. And she was one up on you, you smart Alex. And she knew exactly what you were doing, and she knocked it out with those 9 clauses. That's why you're trying to knock them out now. But let's go back to section 51, subsection 38. Clause 7 knocks out everything. So for 4 months, 25 days, you had imperial law, nothing else. That's it. Nothing else. Now, what happened then is Quick and Garron said, but even if that wasn't so, there was only 7 legislative areas exercisable by the Australasian Council and even less by the colonies. And all 7 are contained in section 51 of the Constitution. Now, you show me anywhere in the Constitution where it gives state or federal parliament authority over land. They don't have it because they're only a legislature. Page 791, middle last paragraph, says so. They're not sovereign. They're not supreme. Page 676 says they're not supreme. Now, if they're not sovereign, they're not supreme, what have you got left now? You've got the Governor-General, who is supreme in this country. He represents the Crown that reserves the right. That's the royal prerogative. The right to sign off on any law interferes with the Governor-General or the Parliaments or the Governor and a host of other laws, all listed in the Constitution. That is a reservation of rights. The right to reserve laws for her signification. That hasn't happened. There goes your Australia Act, because she never signed it. She never signed in the top left-hand corner because it says ELYABETH. One would think you bird brains knew how to spell Elizabeth, because they don't it. And it's typed on the bottom, Bob Hawke. I've got it there. It's in the government book. It said so. Bob Hawke, Prime Minister. Well, who died and made him God? Who gave him authority over this country? Nobody. So now, given that you don't have any lawful governments in this country, who is in authority? You? Not me. I'm here to help you, but you people are all in authority. This pandemic is the biggest joke ever inflicted on the Australian people. To be a pandemic, it has to be massive deaths and serious illness right across this country that doesn't exist. We're throwing some figures one day, some the next day. The one in Geraldton was only one that flew in off a plane and come off a ship. Why did you let her off a ship, you idiots? When Tracy Grimshaw asked the Deputy Medical Officer of the so-called federal cabinet why he didn't stop the boats coming early, he couldn't answer it, and then come up with some cock and bull story, which was absolute lies and nonsense, to cover the backside of a pack of loonies, incompetent fools, who think they run this country. Now, you have a problem. You don't have the lawful right to close off anything. And you nutcase in New South Wales, so-called Premier, you can't jail people for going outside their house. You are there to debate and legislate, debate and pass legislation put together by the Governor and Council. You do not have all these extra powers you idiots have given yourselves. And if you think you're so bright, look at the lunatic in Queensland that forced people to go out and vote for local government after they had a curfew, after they weren't allowed to gather. Forced them to do it on pain of getting fined. So you get fined for going and get fined for not going. What goes through your thick heads? You dumb, stupid clowns. You don't have that authority. Now, a lesson for you, Mark McGowan. You can't raise an army. You use the army in this state for any benefit of your so-called legislation. You've raised the army against the people. That is blatant treason. Blatant treason. The police to stand in the way and block the possession of lawful possession of people is blatant treason. Using the CES on a roadblock is blatant treason. You people need to wake up and realise you serve us, the people, the Commonwealth. You do not serve a wayward Parliament who's running after some ideal that they cooked up in their party room, which is nothing but blatant treason. You cannot restrict the people's travel. I understand you can go on TV and you can advertise, don't do this, wash your hands, do all that, observe all those things. Yes, I agree. I do not agree with your nonsense. More people die every year from the flu than they have for any other thing. And yet you still persist in trying to lock us into our houses. You're not going to. Do not step in front of my car. I will throw you out of the way. I have every right. I am an officer of the Crown. You are not. You have no authority until you swear the oath. You want to see what can happen? We can create the biggest civil disobedience in this country. You know what that means, McGowan? It means you get tossed out on your head because you're nothing but a filthy traitor. You don't believe me? This is the state constitution. It says, I'm right, you're wrong. This is the Commonwealth Constitution is in here. The Commonwealth Constitution Act is in here. It says, I'm right, you're wrong. Statute of Monopolies you tried to knock out 8 or 9 times, and it was always the Labor Party tried to. That says, I'm right, you're wrong. Now, this Commonwealth Constitution, which contains the annotation by the people who wrote it, the interpretation by the people who wrote it, says, I'm right, you're wrong. You people that sit in our Parliament need to have a long, hard look at yourselves in the mirror, because what you're going to see is the biggest group of liars, thieves, and traitors. You overturned the Commonwealth Constitution Act 1900 UK when you produced this piece of garbage, this mucus that you call a constitution. It is time for the people to wake up. You have the right to disobey the Parliament when the Parliament passes laws that are unlawful. Page 791, middle of the last paragraph, says neither the federal nor the state parliament are sovereign bodies. They are simply legislatures with limited authority. If they even attempt to pass a law in excess of that authority, the law is a nullity and affords no obedience. You understand that, you bunch of loonies? We do not have to abide by unlawful laws. That's why you took the Constitution out of our schools in 1975, because you didn't want us to know what we're learning now. You didn't want us to know that you are liars and thieves and traitors. But your removal of our Constitution, your removal of the oath of allegiance, means you now are guilty of treason and treachery to overturn the Constitution. That is imprisonment for life. How do you like that, you lying, thieving traitors? So I wish you have a lovely day, and I hope you have a nice Easter in a week's time, because I am going where I want to go, because that is my right under our Constitution. Step in my way, make it you, McGowan. I would love to throw you on your head, because you're a clown. That's where you belong, standing on your hands. Because what comes out of your mouth, it doesn't make sense. Now, you, the people, are the Commonwealth. You, the people, hold the authority. The notice of seizures that I filed are lawful. Wyatt Wharton seized this country and filed a notice of lawful rebellion. That stands. That is required to have been answered by the end of last month. Wyatt Wharton, like me, knows exactly what he's talking about when he talks about the Constitution. So does Dick Yardley. So does several other good Australians with a brain between their ears. So does Augusto Zimmerman. And as for the professors at the universities, you're like a bunch of trained seals. You wouldn't have a clue in hell what you're talking about most of the time. I match what you say against our Constitution, and yet it's found wanting, mate. You have no idea what you're talking about. So you can ramble on, oh, I asked this constitutional expert. An Exeter has been, the spurts are drip under pressure, and they're the peanuts you're talking to. That's all they are. So you have a lovely day, because I'm going to have a fantastic one.